Guys missed the last video. Parts back from paint. The whole story to that. You should check out the last video if you missed it. So we're gonna start on the hood, and we're gonna install the insert carefully, and then put the hood on the car, and then start loading the front bumper, fixing a couple parts, putting it all together. Before we do the center section, we're gonna clean this all off. It's still full of compound dust and all that. And then what I want to do before I put the center section in is actually wax this center section, because once you put the carbon piece on, you're never going to be able to get in here and clean this again. And if you put some wax in here and make it nice and hydrophobic, you won't have water sitting in there. At least that's the idea. Just going to use some cheap paste wax, do at least 2 coats in the center section, let it dry up, buff it out, and then we're going to run tape around the whole perimeter of where the carbon piece is going to go in. That way when we push it in, it's not going to scratch the new paint. This carbon fiber along the edges is normally typically not finished, and it's very sharp and will bite into this paint. Center section has 2 coats of wax, and we went ahead and taped off the edges. That way we don't scrape anything up. We can finally take the center section and reinstall it. Now mine is whatever color code GM calls this. It's like a charcoal gray, but to show you that it is actually carbon, basically all of these are carbon, and what GM does is if the external finish isn't up to snuff, they paint them, and the ones that stay carbon have the nicer finish. And these edges aren't really that bad. I probably could have gotten away with not doing tape, but I just want to be on the safe side. And this thing came off beautifully. All the foam and everything is still intact, because this was a used piece off the wrecked car, whereas the hood was brand new. They were getting ready to rebuild it, and then they scrapped the project. So we're going to take this and put it over there. And there it is with the insert installed. And I'm really liking this contrast between that gunmetal gray and the black. I think it's going to look really good on the car. You can actually, I don't know if it shows up on camera, you can actually see a little bit of the weave of the carbon, because the gel coat and paint that they use on these is real soft, so it kind of leaves a texture a little bit. You can always see it in certain lights, but this is going to look awesome on the car. The hood flipped over, I'm going to reinstall the hardware. There's a bunch of body plugs to seal all these holes up. And if you notice, I did a satin clear on the bottom, because I have no intention of putting a hood pad on this thing. I just want it to look clean and nice. So I think satin black will look good. It won't be too loud when you got the hood open. And then once all that hardware is installed, we got to reinstall the trim that goes up to the top for the sprayers. Sprayers. Alright, everything put together, all the plugs are in. The sprayer assembly is attached, and I noticed you can actually still see a little bit of carbon peeking through even when it's assembled, just to remind you that it's a carbon piece. Alright, so we'll flip it back over, we'll do a final dust down, and then we'll get it on the Camaro. There it is, all dusted off. I'm loving this color combination. I originally wanted to strip that to carbon and then just clear it, but the way this looks in the sun, I'm just gonna leave it. I think it's awesome. It's kind of got the carbon color anyways, just you don't see the weave. But one thing I did notice, since this hood was so freaking dirty when I got it, this looks like all cutting compound that just kind of baked on. At least that's my hope. I'm gonna cut the hood later when I do a full detail on the car, but if that doesn't come out, I get to fight the body shop again. Hood's just initially fit right now. Obviously we got some alignment issues. Not gonna tighten anything down yet until we get the front bumper cover on. Before we could do that, we gotta rebuild a couple parts and then get it up on the lift, but I'll give you an idea of what this bad boy is looking like. It's definitely coming together, and we were able to retain washer nozzles by installing that piece we installed earlier, routing it all through, and then actually snapping straight into the stock connector. I think I had to move over the stock SS male side because the Z01 connector was a little bit different, and by doing that it allowed it to snap right into the OEM, and we'll have washer nozzles. I don't know how big a deal that is, but we are in Florida, so let's go repair some parts and get this front bumper cover back on. So the front bumper is assembled for the most part. Everything's snapped in, brand new trim piece at the bottom. We put our SS grill back in, all the fog lights. Now we just have to put the crash bar support back in, the stock harness, and merge it with a Gen 5 DIY harness that's going to run those two bottom fogs. And here's the bumper all dressed with the stock harness and the Gen 5 DIY harness. Now, this is off the Gen 5 DIY harness. This is the stock Z01 fog light harness. You're just going to put that to the side. I'm going to tape it up. Runs straight across, almost like OEM. Then the interrupter harness goes right here between the stock and the body harness. And it's going to kick out a relay and a positive that you're going to put on the battery. Same on this side. This one's no longer used. That's the Gen 5 DIY. So it's going to make these two work at the same time. And probably just going to mount the relay here somewhere. And then out of this fuse box, you pull a 12 volt. So nice and factory looking. So this guy's about ready to go on. Just have to clarify something real quick. So the harness that I got is Gen 5 DIY's Z01 fog light harness, the 200-200 harness. Initially, I don't know why, when I got this harness, I thought that it was gonna run the stock larger fog DRL and the Z01 fog at the same time. When I ordered this, apparently I wasn't paying attention. There are actually two harnesses that Gen 5 DIY offer. This one that I got that's installed now, if you look at it, there's actually only a pigtail off this main harness for the two Z01 fogs, nothing else. So what this harness does is, when the car's running, stock DRLs are kicked on, so the halos and the normal DRL fog, that's all that's gonna run. When you have running lights or headlights on, this runs like a stock Z01. So you'll have your halos, your projectors, and the Z01 fogs. No DRL larger fog. If you want that, they actually have a combined harness, which is the 200-205 harness. And if you look at that one, it's got the two Z01 plugs and the stock DRL larger fog plugs. So if you want both running at the same time, you actually need this harness versus the 200-200, which will run like a stock Z01. The bumper's roughed in. Just going ahead and doing all bolts and stuff up here loosely. Tightened everything on this side, everything on this side, and now I have fixed the flare on the driver's side, cleaning up the passenger side one, getting ready to put it on, and decided to do these once the bumper was on the car, because with the tape and the rivets and everything, if these are indexed off just a little bit, it makes the bumper stick out wrong. So what I'm going to do on this side is start with the bottom bolt, get bottom referenced, put the two rivets in, and then with the double-sided tape, just start pulling it out and walking it down the radius of the bumper to make sure everything lines up right. Started by putting the bottom screw in, put the two rivets in, and then was able to pull the tape straight up, and as you see, perfect radius, no bulging out of the bumper. Came out good. So what we're gonna do now is all the under tray stuff and the fender liners need to be put back up. Before we can do that, we still have those brake vents we gotta fix. And I mounted up the Gen 5 DIY relay right here by bending the bracket and just putting a rivet ahead. And then the 12 volt feed goes right to this box, bolts in. Good brake duct, broken brake duct. So I'd already repaired this one once, and I thought with the filler I used it was good enough, but it looks like it's going to need some mesh support because this is a little bit structural when it bolts to the fender liner from the bumper, because there's flex there, and if this thing's a little iffy it's just going to snap again. So I'll build that up, put filler back in, and it should be good to go. There's duct repaired. Used some mesh, fused it to the plastic, and then put some uni weld on top of it, and this thing's not going anywhere now. Doesn't look pretty, but you never see this part, so I'd rather it be functional and not break again. Excuse all the dirt, it's been raining again like crazy, but this is what it's gonna look like. So car running, not in gear, parking brake up, DRLs are running, which on the RS is the fogs. And then if we come over and turn on the driving lights, we have halos, no DRL, and the ZL1 fog lights. And then the same is going to be for the headlight when we flip that over. We have halo, headlight, ZL1 fog. So the 200-200 harness makes this look like a stock ZL1. The other harness will allow you to have both the DRL fog and the ZL1 fog running at the same time. Alright, I'm just going to quickly go over what it's going to take for me being in Palm Beach County in Florida to get the salvage title changed to a rebuild title. So I reached out to the state. They sent me a whole package of all these PDF documents that I got to go through and fill out. And basically this is going to run everything down. Obviously right in the beginning they're going to tell you if you got an unrebuildable or certificate of destruction car, it will not be rebuildable even in Florida. We get away with a lot, but we can't get away with this. If you have a salvage vehicle that is rebuildable, you can go ahead and get this packet, go through the whole thing. They are super particular about what you need to do during this process. If you don't do it, obviously they're not going to give you an appointment to look at the car. When you build your package, $40 check. Actually surprised they're going to take cash in the envelope with all this stuff. But here's the important stuff. The title that you get from whomever you bought the car from, in my case it's going to be Copart, and it's going to be in my name. And I actually went after the fact and retitled it in Florida as a salvage title car. So I have that going for me too. We're doing bill of sale. Again, that's going to be from Copart. Receipts for all the major components. So how this was defined to me is the Camaro is a flood car. They want to see the parts that were required to make the flood car function. If you change the light bulb, they don't care. In my case, all the fluids I used, spark plugs, wires, and most important, that body harness that actually fixed most of my issues. So coming down, they're gonna want the VIN of these parts. That's gonna be a little tough for me. I may be able to locate that in my case, but everything else that I used was new parts. All the fluids, spark plugs, wires, that evap solenoid that I replaced. So I'm gonna have to get all my receipts, everything together for that. Repair facility, since I did all the work, I'm not gonna have to fill this part out. Again, these are all those documents that were included in that packet that I'm gonna have to fill out. Running down those real quick. So there's the application to get it retitled. Obviously you're gonna plug in all your information pertinent to your vehicle. Then there is the statement of the builder, which again, it's gonna be a lot of redundant information, but here's where you're gonna start putting those part numbers that you used. If the parts were new, used, or repaired, aftermarket or homemade, and then the source VIN. The only part I'm going to need a source VIN for is that body harness that I used. Again, fill out all your fun stuff. Also have a page 2 to that form we were just looking at, just in case you have that many parts and you need more line items to detail it out. And then finally a power of attorney for them to actually go through after the inspection and retitle the car for you. In Florida, you have the option of it being instantly turned into an electronic title, or them mailing it to you if you really want a physical one. Alright, so I'm going to fill all that out and submit the packet, and hopefully we get an appointment. Alright, I think we're going to end it here. This video is getting a little long in the tooth. I didn't actually expect that to happen, but had to go back and explain a couple things, which I think works for you guys. Couple teasers. So, as I'm waiting for the Camaro's documents to go out and us to get an appointment on actually registering the vehicle, gonna install some more stuff. So I got a brand new Hurst short shifter. This is all OEM, so it'll be nice matching all the OEM stuff on the car. We're gonna fix those ZL1 side skirts. We're gonna do some little minor PDR and paint work, and I also have another teaser. Progress on the building. Finally, we're not gonna have to play this game of moving stuff around and displacing the FD and moving stuff over here and working in this little garage. We're gonna have a real freaking building, so stay tuned on more updates on that. And to be like everyone else, like, subscribe, notification button if you care for that kind of thing. See you in the next video.